Alright guys, welcome to ITS Tactical's Knot of the Week and our final installment on creating your own fast rope for climbing. Today we're going to get into whipping and fusing that bitter end of your fast rope. So as you can see here, what I've done is wrap the end of this this is just regular paracord, but I've wrapped about 50 times here. And you're going to need about 25 feet of paracord if you plan on whipping and fusing the end of this diameter of fast rope that we've been creating here. So you can take a look at how nicely that whipped together here, and I'll be demonstrating that on our smaller piece of the 4-strand braid that we've been working with here with paracord. But a couple quick notes about this: when you fuse the end of this, it creates a nice solid block here if you fuse it right. And that's what's going to hold that rope together, as well as the whipping that we're going to be doing. So it's a combination of both, and you can't neglect either if you want your rope to last and hold together. So let's get right into it here. Where we left off last time with our paracord was making the eye. Well, I've taken the eye out of this, so we have a nice long piece of paracord here of the 4-strand braid to work with. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it's a little easier to see this as we're working with it here. So what we're going to be doing is, you'll notice that you have your tentacle-like strings hanging off here, your 8 strands, and then you have, hopefully, where you put some tape as you've finished the 4-strand braid. And you're going to start your whipping, which we'll get into with this piece of, I guess this is really just dummy cord. It's type 1 paracord. And what we're going to be doing is whipping this, but you're going to start just above where you left off with your tape. Now the reason behind this is so when you whip, you can come back with one of these nice rope cutting guns, like so, and you're just going to saw right through that paracord. Or this is the same gun I used on the longer, thicker fast rope too. So the thing is, you can cut this manually, strand by strand, but what you're going to run into is that you're going to have to leave yourself a lot more room between the tape and where you start the whipping. So you're actually going to lose a little bit, because as you cut, you're going to have to be burning, and there's just not much room between where the paracord is and where the tape is. After you whip, though, you can just remove the tape. So there's a couple of things that'll work, and you just have to find what's best for you. I prefer a rope cutting gun like that, and they're only about 30 bucks, and I'll post a link in the article on where to get one of those. I got mine off Amazon. They're made in Taiwan, they're cheap, but hey, they do the job, and it's really beneficial if you do any kind of work with paracord to have one of those. It just makes things so much simpler. So let's get into it. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a bite in the rope, like so. Just like that. And you're going to have, obviously, a standing part. Well, the standing part is actually going to become the bitter end here. So you're going to place that off to the side here. And where you're going to start wrapping, I know it's a little difficult to see this black type 1 here, but if you're facing this way, you want the bitter end here to be off to your right. The reason being is you're going to wrap clockwise around the rope, and you want this to become trapped in the whipping, and that's kind of what whipping is all about. So let's demonstrate that here. So you've got your bite, you've got your bitter end here, and you've got your whipping. So again, we're starting just above where we taped, just like that, and we're essentially wrapping very tightly around like this. So there's our bitter end here trapped in the whipping. As we're wrapping, of course, when you're wrapping on the bigger rope, you're really going to have to pay attention to it and tighten along the way. And that's how, pull this back up here, that's why you can really see the dimension to the end of the fast rope here, is just because it's really tight, and that's really what's important when you're talking about whipping any kind of rope, really. So once you get to the end of your paracord here, I'm going to take one more turn around here, and what you're going to do is you're going to put it into the eye that's created here through the back side, so it lays correctly. So that's what that looks like at this point. So I've come through the back side of the eye. Now this bitter end here, the standing part, is actually going to be able to be pulled, and it's going to trap this part, this working end. So you can see as I pull this, it starts to tighten up. You just want to kind of keep this under control the whole time while you're continuing to pull on this part here. There we go. And so you can see as you pull, this just keeps pulling the strand further and further down this way, and that's what you want. I'm going to pull this really tight here, and I'll show you how it disappears. There you go. So by pulling tightly, that loop that was trapping this end actually disappeared down into here. So the last step here in the whipping part of this is going to be to trim and burn these ends here of this type 1 or paracord in the situation where you're working with a big fast rope. So I'm going to trim these, just fuse that little paracord there, little type 1. Same for this part. Okay, so now our whipping is complete. It's been fused, and you can see we've still got room here between the tape and the end of the whipping here. So a couple things you can do. You can leave the tape on. I know on the larger fast rope I just went ahead and took the tape off. You should be okay. It's not going to come unraveled on you, or it shouldn't. Yeah, so you can. There's still enough of the twist there in the braid to keep it still. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fuse it, or cut it and fuse it with one of these rope guns. So again, you want to come right to the end of the whipping here. Got to plug this in. Okay. So all we're going to do is just slice right through this thing, and it's going to fuse as it cuts, which is the beauty of this rope gun. It doesn't quite cut this fast when you're talking about a large fast rope, but it still works very good. So you can see already we've almost kind of fused that paracord together just with that cut. But what I'm going to do is just turn this back on and work my way around this thing again. Fuse this a little better here. And if you actually melt into the bottom wrapping of the paracord here, it's really not that big of a deal, and actually helps it hold stronger. So you can see here we are now complete with our whipping and fusing of this piece of fast rope, or a 4-strand braid. So let's compare this to our actual one here. So what we've got is pretty much the same thing. So if you have any questions, be sure to leave them. Kind of a quick video, but at the same time, that's really the essence of whipping and fusing. And this goes for any kind of rope that you're working with. It doesn't matter if it's a 4-strand braid or whether you're just trying to whip the end of a regular rope. This technique still applies to everything. So in essence, yes, this is how to whip and fuse the end of a fast rope, but this whipping and fusing technique can be used for absolutely anything. So this has been ITS Tactical Video on whipping and fusing your fast rope into shape. Thanks for watching, and a quick shout out to my buddy Brent from Operation Outpost. Thanks a lot for the shirt, brother.